Hello and welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. I'm your host, the Nerd Man, and today we're talking about Piers Morgan and the Sharone Osbourne. It's basically a scandal now about whether Piers Morgan is a racist. Basically, if you don't know Piers Morgan, I'm sure you do if you're on this channel. But Piers Morgan recently came out and was going against Harry and Meghan Markle about their interview with Oprah Winfrey, in which Meghan Markle suggested that the royal family may be racist. Now, that's something that wouldn't surprise me at all, but nonetheless. This Piers Morgan went against this, and Piers Morgan is different from the royal family. So Piers Morgan has the opinion that the royal family are not racist and that Meghan Markle, in fact, is a liar. So I wanted to discuss this referencing two clips, because at the moment there's this whole kind of scandal of him getting cancelled and what's happening with that. And I want to just share some things, that I've seen in relation to Piers Morgan himself, and then kind of talk about what it is. So the first thing I wanted to share was him having a go at Liam Neeson. Like, he was one of the, Liam Neeson very recently came out in a what one can only discuss, one could only say was a somewhat disturbing admission that it was about a year or two ago. It was like a disturbing admission saying that he went around for 2 hours to look for a black man to beat up with a kosh, which is some kind of thing, and he went around for a week apparently looking for any black man to beat up with a kosh because his girlfriend at the time was assaulted supposedly by a black man. And this was something that he did when he was much younger, like 20 years ago or something like that. And he was trying to say admit that he was wrong, for having done that. And I thought, when I saw it, it was incredibly brave of him to do. And that's the kind of conversation I would like to have. I would like to have open conversations of past mistakes I've made and learn from it and have other people learn from it. But I will say this, I had a problem with what Liam Neeson had to say regarding that particular incident, because I did think that Liam Neeson didn't seem to, he seemed to be sorry for being angry at all black people, but he didn't seem to understand that he was wrong because not all black people are like that. And he never said, I realized not all black people are obviously like this. And this is a terrible thing to do because I'm labeling a whole race as this kind of thing. And then he went on, and then above that, even to look at the kind of history of why certain, a very small minority of blacks do commit crime, right? I'm not saying you should forgive or not be angry at them because of that, but it's bigger than just your own personal grief, right? This whole society works as a whole. So that was where I was upset with Liam Neeson at. But I wasn't upset that he actually said this thing and admitted that once upon a time I did something horribly racist. And I thought that was a really, really open thing for him to do. And what he wanted was the ability to actually discuss with people how he felt at that time. And maybe he could have learned something more from having an open discussion about it. But anyway, Piers Morgan, who everyone is calling a racist now, came out in absolute terms horrified by what Liam Neeson had to say. So let's see this, because this is the racist guy that everyone's calling racist. So okay, just to show, so Piers Morgan actually in this situation is taking a more hard line than even I would. He's saying absolute zero tolerance to racism, and that's, I think, how he views himself. He is a bulldog, right? And he's a bulldog who is there to voice his opinions and be as controversial as possible. And that's what he does. He does that on a weekly basis. And I don't agree with his politics at all. I think, for the most part, we disagree. But I always appreciate that he's there and he says his opinion. In this particular instance, I think he was absolutely wrong. And I think he took a really, really hard stance on Liam Neeson, which almost got Liam Neeson cancelled. Like nobody, people for a while were like, oh, can we even fuck with Liam Neeson anymore? Because a bunch of irrational people came out and said, oh, you did something 20 years ago when you were like in your 20s and a young and stupid guy and who hadn't had world experience yet. And you did that 20 years ago. So now when you're in your 50s, you're still racist. Instead of actually taking the time to talk to him about the experience and say, hey, dude, it's all good and well that you're saying, that you shouldn't have been taken in by your anger and you're sorry. But how about you actually consider the nature of what you're saying and the nature of what you were doing and tell me really why you think it was wrong, right? So there's that, okay? But as you can see, Piers Morgan is, wherever, I remember during all of the BLM stuff like that, he was completely against what happened to George Floyd. He was absolutely 100. And I'm not saying this as a defense of Piers Morgan, by the way, because Piers Morgan, as you can see, was helping towards the canceling of somebody else, Liam Neeson. He was like, and he went even further, with associating Liam Neeson's behavior and whatever with Ku Klux Klan and Nazis and all of that kind of stuff, which he wasn't wrong in a way, but at the same time, the guy's moved on 30 years later. He didn't actually attack anyone, and he's trying to open up about his past mistakes. It's like saying, a Ku Klux Klan member, who leaves the Ku Klux Klan and like cleans up his life and tries to go in and try and basically do better than what he's done before. We can, we'll just be like, oh, you were in the Ku Klux Klan before, that's it, you're done. Instead of trying to embrace them and say, well done, like, well, not even well done, but like good. Let's move on. Let's become more harmonious. Join the human community, right? You can't just be like, once a racist, always a racist, right? You have to give people opportunity to change. I mean, that guy might have, that racist person may have been brought up since a child by, surrounded by like a cult of racists. And that's why he's like that. So I didn't agree with what Piers Morgan was doing here. But why I'm showing this is to show, like, this is how he feels about racism. This is how he feels. And whenever he feels something about something, he's a bulldog on it. He's a bulldog. He was a bulldog on BLM. He was a bulldog on, on what's it called? Donald Trump. And in the final parts of his term, whenever he has different opinions, some I don't agree with, some I do agree with, but he's always a bulldog and he's always there to give his opinion. And for the most part, it's quite fucking entertaining. Let's be honest. But anyway, this goes on to what happened with Sharone Osbourne, who is a friend of Piers Morgan's, right? So Sharone Osbourne now was on a talk show, and we'll see what happened with Sharone Osbourne and what she has to say, because I think good on her, personally.
I've been knowing you for years since I've been here, and I've never seen anything come out of you other than, if I don't know, I'm willing to learn. If it comes off a certain way, I stand corrected.
Right.
That's the only thing I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what would you say to people who may feel that while you're standing by your friend, it appears that you give validation or safe haven to something that he has uttered that is racist? Even if you don't agree, am I saying it right? Okay,
I don't know what he's uttered.
Remember what she said? That he's uttered something racist. So she's claiming now that that Piers Morgan has uttered something racist. Okay, so let's remember that, and let's remember that this is the man's opinion. Now, I think what's happened in the royal family and what's happened to Meghan Markle, if it's true, is horrible, and I don't not believe her. In fact, I think the fact that Harry has supported her story doesn't surprise me at all. I've actually been around circles of the upper class, and I've seen how they react and respond to Black people, and they are often very, very racist, possibly even without knowing it, and do racist things, and hold their things closer and watch to see what you're doing in their household, or stuff like that. So it's very, very possible that Meghan Markle face some kind of racism there. However, this is Piers Morgan's opinion on whether she actually did face that racism or not. It's not, we don't have to agree with him, but he has an opinion on that. And is that opinion in and of itself a racist opinion? We have to be really, really careful with these things, because what will happen is when we're actually calling out real racism, people are going to stop believing us. And that's what I worry about when we use the word racism so lightly, without, if you're going to use the word racism, make sure, you have some real kind of, do you know what? It's not even evidence, but make sure you have a proper formed argument. Not an argument from emotion, but an argument from reason. Because what happens here is Sharone Osbourne basically fucking destroys this woman. Because what is she talking about? She said racist utterances. So what did Piers say that was racist?
Racist. I'm not trying to slide out of this one.
Right.
I don't know. Tell me, what has he uttered that's racist?
Wednesday's episode of The Talk got intense as Cheryl Underwood confronted Meghan Markle following her sit-down interview with Oprah. Throughout the conversation, Sharon became very defensive over her friendship with Piers and even lashed out at Cheryl. Take a look.
I feel even like I'm about to be put in the electric chair because I have a friend who many people think is a racist, so that makes me a racist. And for me, at 68 years of age, to have to turn around and say, I ain't racist.
Everyone's racist, by the way.
With me.
Let's stop pretending, right? Everyone's a little bit racist. Everyone is. I find it so much bullshit that when people say they're not racist, we try and fight against our own inner racism. We try and fight against our own inner sexism. Every woman kind of hates men a little bit. Every man kind of hates women a little bit. Everybody hates everything that isn't them a little bit. It's just human fucking nature. We all have a fine layer of prejudice. Now, what we try and do is we fight against it. But in general, I agree with Sharone Osbourne. She's just saying she doesn't harbor the kind of, abhorrent racist, beliefs. But I very much doubt she is entirely not racist. I don't think I'm entirely not racist. I think I have, I think I'm less racist than a lot of people, to be honest. But at the same time, I still have a little layer of racism, a little layers of resentment towards certain peoples that I try to control within myself. And I try and, any hatred or negative or dark feeling or impulse, I try and control within myself. So to say, I hate when people say, they're not ists. We're all ists. Let's face it.
Okay, how can I be racist about anybody? How can I be racist about anybody or anything in my life? How can I?
Well,
Well, what?
We'll be right
Well,
back.
what?
We have more topics, so don't go away.
And I think we should stop this. I will ask you again, Cheryl.
Yes.
I've been asking you during the break.
Right.
I'm asking you again. And don't try and cry, because if anyone should be crying, it should be me. This is the situation.
Yes.
You tell me where you have heard him say, educate me. Tell me.
See, I really, and the funny thing is, as I was saying this, I do think Sharone Osbourne's absolutely right. But what bothers me even more about this is that I really fear we're going to get to a situation where people stop really believing that racism actually exists. And it does. And that frightens me, where people are just unwilling to listen to it and they become hardliners against it, because every time anything even small happens, there's not even an ability to kind of have a discussion. And, it's just absolute, that we're raising people to have absolute intolerance against like supposed sexism or supposed racism or supposed homophobia. Even a sniff, even a hint of it, it's like, oh, you're a fucking blah, blah. And instead of calming down and going, hey, what did you mean by that? Let's have a discussion about that. Let's examine what you mean. Even if let's say Piers Morgan is being a little bit racist by not believing Meghan Markle, why can't we have a rational, reasonable discussion about it instead of flying off into crazy emotional arguments? So, yeah, I do believe Piers Morgan's a little bit racist for what he said. But it's not that he is doing something overtly racist that he himself believes is racist. I think he finds racism abhorrent. I think he finds discrimination against Black people or any other people abhorrent. What he doesn't realize is that he's aligned himself with a system that protects and defends oppression and discrimination. And by aligning yourself with that system, you're actually aligning yourself with those racist outcomes. right? So that's where I think, you know, what he's talking about, where he's just like, oh, I don't believe Meghan Markle. I don't, you know, I don't believe a word she says, you know, and playing into the kind of people who actually don't believe Meghan Markle simply because she said, you know, something happened to me that's racist. That's why they won't believe any of that, right? So instead, he's playing into the hands of those kind of people. And I do worry about the impact of that. But anyway, let's finish this very, very quickly.
You have heard him say racist things. Educate me. Tell me.
It is not the exact words of racism. It's the implication and the reaction.
She said he'd uttered racist things. So now she has to backtrack and say it's the implications of what he's saying, which is what she may have wanted to say in the beginning. Or she may have wanted to have a more enlightened discussion and actually try and, you know, unpack, you know, the whole situation with Meghan Markle and why just immediately, you know, instead of being open and being, you know, evidence-based and rational, just completely dismissing out of hand her accusations is problematic. Just like we shouldn't believe immediately that the royal family are racist, or there was racism uttered by families of members of the royal family without any evidence. We should also be open to the fact that, or we should be open to maybe Meghan Markle is telling the truth. I don't see how any of those two things contradict each other. We should be open to both sides. And the fact that he is so closed and being a mouthpiece for one side without having a shred of evidence to support his claim that Meghan Markle didn't experience racism by the royal family, that's problematic. And the fact that he's giving voice and he's giving you know, confidence and boosting the confidence of those people who would just completely dismiss her. He's got a platform, you know, and I'm not saying he can have his own opinions. That's fine. He should be able to have his own opinions. But I'm saying that is what I would talk to her about. That this is the problem. That he's got this platform and he's basically aligning himself with people who would just dismiss her because she's saying anything at all is wrong with the UK. Anything at all is wrong with the royal family. Anything at all is wrong with the current system that favors, that disproportionately disfavors blacks. That's what she's doing. But anyway, in terms of what Meghan Markle, as I said, I'm open to both sides. I don't know if it's true. To be honest, I can kind of believe it because of the nature of what the royal family are as an institution. But at the same time, I'm not going to condemn them without, you know, some more to the story and more, you know, proof or evidence or something like that. So yes, that's my opinion on that situation, that you should be open to both sides. I think any reasonable person should be open to both sides of that story, right? Like Meghan Markle could be telling the truth, so could the royal family. They also have a, you know, in terms of her wanting to commit suicide, this isn't the first time that somebody has been married to a royal family member, you know, who has been, you know, put under extreme pressure and basically been abused and neglected by them, you know, to the point of feeling suicidal. That happened with Diana as well. So, and everyone felt sorry for her. So why don't people feel sorry for Meghan Markle? It's just a question. But anyway.
To not want to address that because she is a Black woman and to try to dismiss it or to make it seem less than what it is. That's what makes it racist. But right now, I'm talking to a woman who I believe is my friend, and I don't want anybody here to watch this and say that we're attacking you for being racist. And for that, if I articulated,
I think it's
anything,
too late. I think that seed's already sown.
But that is why I'm saying for me. I'm saying for me. I thought I was asking a question about the perception of people. That's why I
so anyway, and this
like, oh, I'm sorry,
this anyway, it goes on for a little while longer, and I think what this woman says is so pointed to what actually Piers Morgan's actual opinions are. I don't think he is racist in the sense of having prejudice against any black people. And I think the reason that he is so defensive in this situation is his personal dislike of Meghan Markle, independent of her race, and what this woman has to say.
Like yesterday when you were talking, Mrs. O, it sounded like he was really upset about, what you were saying is a royalist. Like he is just so like deep into honoring the crown and honoring and do I agree with what he said? No, like you.
No, I don't
agree. Think he should have walked off set? No. Do I think he should have sat there and listened to his other co-hosts like we're doing right now and having a conversation and learning from each other? I think that's what corrective evolution is about.
Yeah, exactly. So there was some reasonable things actually said eventually in that situation. But yeah, I mean, ideally, you know, I think with Piers Morgan, the situation is very simple. He shouldn't have walked off set. He shouldn't have been a big child. But the fact is, that was kind of entertaining. That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to entertain us. He's a big, you know, bulldog of a man. And we find him funny and we find him entertaining because he says the things that, you know, that people ordinarily wouldn't say, right? So that's it. He's an entertaining interviewer and person. Sometimes I have a distaste for what he's saying. Sometimes I actually appreciate what he's saying. I don't always have to agree with him. We didn't have to agree with him on Meghan Markle, but firing him or him being let go or quitting his job or whatever and being hustled over into a corner is just the wrong approach to this situation, because you're pushing people and labeling him a racist specifically is pushing him into a corner to go further and further into a realm of actually being a voice piece for this conservative kind of insidious conservative movement that is trying to, you know, suggest conservative voices are being silenced. It is a terrible idea. He is not being overtly racist in the sense of him actually having prejudice against anybody. He doesn't like Meghan Markle and he's a big time royalist. That's why he's defending the crown. That's me. I'll see you on the flip side. Please please like, comment, and subscribe for further content. I'll see you on the flip side. Love you 3000.